Hello everyone and welcome to a video on the Constructive Criticism YouTube channel. I'm Spencer, host of Constructive Criticism, and limited time only 2 podcasts about getting better at Magic the Gathering. Today I'm talking about a deck that I'm currently testing for Grand Prix Portland. It's a deck that I'm actually really happy with, something that I've really been enjoying. I really like playing Winding Constrictor decks, and this is another Winding Constrictor deck for me. One of the things that happened the very first tournament in Standard is a Winding Constrictor deck went and won the event. It was in the form of Bug Energy in the hands of some of the SEG grinders, and it really made Hostage Taker take off in price, and people really liked the deck. Being a person that's played Winding Constrictor decks to some success in the past, I thought, yeah, this is a thing that I want to do. This is the thing that I want to try. And initially, I really did think that it made a lot of sense because of the power of Blossoming Defense in this deck, because of it being a synergy deck. So between Blossoming Defense and Hostage Taker, I thought, yeah, maybe this solves a lot of the deck's problems. It makes it so that you don't have to play late game stuff. You get to take your opponents. You get to protect that with Blossoming Defense. But as I played the games out, it didn't actually play out like that. Blossoming Defense plus Hostage Taker was a little bit clunky, and it was taking away from my game plan to advance my synergies. So I didn't really like it as much as I thought I would. So I changed the deck quite a bit, played a lot of games, and this is what I've come up with. So the first thing we have is Bristling Hydra. I think that you end up with so much energy in this deck, you really want a place to put it all. And between Glint-Sleeve Siphoner and Longtusk Cub, sometimes you don't have enough energy sinks. And I think that Bristling Hydra can both be that energy sink for you, and just get bigger in the quote-unquote mid-range mirrors because of the ability of Winding Constrictor, and the fact that you're going to have more energy than your opponents. So that's the first thing that I did, is I really wanted to put Bristling Hydra into the deck and have it be a part of the game plan, even if it's not a huge part. We do have the 4 Glint-Sleeve Siphoners and the 4 Longtusk Cubs still. I think that Glint-Sleeve Siphoner has been more impressive lately for me. I think that we're not in a format where you block a ton, especially when you consider the way that the mono red decks are constructed. So it actually incentivizes people to change their decks so that the blocking isn't pivotal to their game plan, which makes this easier to both attack with, and the extra cards really help out. And once you get something, like a couple of counters on it from whether it's a Rishkar or a Verdurous Gearhulk, it's a pretty powerful thing that you can punch through with. The Longtusk Cubs in this deck are a little bit worse than they are in Teamer Energy. In Teamer Energy, they're a huge focal point of your game plan, and in this deck, they're just one of the 2 drops that produces energy. I think that they're way better than Servants would be in the deck, so it's definitely important to keep them in, and they do get pretty big. There are times where you can make them really huge because of things like Winding Constrictor, and playing to the board is more important in this deck than I think that people realize. Rishkar is one that I have as a 3 of. This is a card that I'm always impressed with. I think that between it and Walking Ballista, Verdurous Gearhulk, and Snake, it's a huge part of your game plan, and I want as many of these as possible. You can discard the excess ones with Charter Course, which we'll get to later in the deck, but I think that it's important to be able to have this in your deck, and you want to draw it on curve, and when you don't play enough of them, that doesn't happen enough, so I do go ahead and play 3. We do have 1 Scarab God still. This has been a 2 of in my deck. This has been a 3 of in my deck. Right now I'm at 1. I think that this deck isn't as good at abusing this card as some of the other decks that play it are, and because of that I don't want too many, but I do want at least some number of them to have a long game plan. I have 2 Verdurous Gearhulks right now. I know that lists in the past have played as many as 0, and I think that that's wrong. I think that because your deck is playing to the board and you're going a little bit wider, Verdurous Gearhulk is a huge part of that and really gives you an edge in matchups where you're playing to the board. Walking Ballista is a 3 of in my deck. This is one that I'm sad to not be playing 4 of. It acts as a removal spell, it acts as a creature, it acts as a win condition, it acts as everything. I really like the card in the deck. I think that especially with you when you think about the resurgence of maybe like Black Red and Mardu, Walking Ballista gains a lot of value in against those kind of decks. Winding Constrictor is still a 4 of in this deck. I love Winding Constrictor decks. I can't believe that I said that. I'm saying that now considering, how I felt when I first saw them coming onto the scene. But I really enjoy playing with this card. It makes decisions interesting, as well as gives you an edge in the resource management game, which the energy decks are a huge part of. We have 1 Blossoming Defense still. And I really like Blossoming Defense as one of in this deck to protect the synergies of your deck. I was playing one Blossoming Defense all the way back at GP Denver with Delirium, and I'm not going away from it anytime soon. I think that being able to protect your synergies, catch your opponents off guard, they have to play around it the rest of the match when you would do it, and usually it is a huge tempo swing as well as a huge momentum swing when you cast it. We have 4 Fatal Push, the best removal spell in Standard right now. Is probably Fatal Push and Harness Lightning, and we get to play one of those being Fatal Push, and I'm pretty happy with it. It's not as good as it could be, but it's good enough. It's not, obviously not legacy good here, but you don't need it to be. You do definitely need a way to beat Cubs, though. Longtusk Cub is such a huge problem against so many decks, and being able to have a one-mana clean answer for Longtusk Cub is really important. We have 2 Vraska's Contempt. This is a huge card that I just undervalued how good this card was going to be. Having a clean answer for the gods, as well as planeswalkers, is really powerful. And I didn't think that I'd be willing to pay 4 mana for this effect, but I absolutely am, and I've been completely happy with it. We do have one planeswalker ourselves in the main, and that's for Vraska. Vraska is a really quick kill, so she takes 3 turns to just kill your opponent, 2 ticks up, and then on that final turn she can ultimate, put their life total to 1, and attack with those menace creatures, and that's all they wrote. And her versatility between destroying artifact creatures or enchantments is also really relevant. The fact that she can kill so many different things gives her a huge leg up, I think, right now. We have 4 Attune with Aether, starting our sorceries. I think that Attune with Aether is the only way that you can reasonably play a 3-color deck in this format, and so you get a lot of power out of it, and all of your best draws are going to start with turn 1 Attune with Aether. We have 2 Charter Course. This is a card that I was trying later in the game while testing this deck, and oh my goodness, was I pleasantly surprised with Charter Course. Because of the low curve of your deck, you can easily fit it into different slots, drawing power and double spelling sooner, which is a huge way to gain an advantage in this format. I find that double spelling is really powerful, and you're so often attacking with this deck that it's just 2-mana divination. We have 1 Confiscation Coup in the main. This is a card that is kind of taking the place of that Scarab God that I got rid of. I found that taking my opponent's big threat was oftentimes better than playing the second Scarab God, and I've been pretty happy with it. It can basically take anything. So, in the sideboard, we have 2 Aethersphere Harvester. This is a card that you need. Your deck is not exactly the best against some of the aggressive slanted strategies at times, and having a little bit more life gain is pretty helpful. I have 2 Deathgorge Scavengers, a little bit of graveyard hate, a little bit of life gain, kind of filling multiple rules, being a diverse sideboard card. I've been really impressed with that. We have 2 Glyph Keeper. This card is good against tokens, this card is good in the mirror, this card is good against Teamer, this card is good against control. It's basically good in every matchup at aggro. Been really impressed with it. Would definitely recommend keeping this one in your sideboard. 1 Appetite for the Unnatural kind of is pretty good. I know that some people don't like this card due to its mana cost, but I do think that you need to be able to kill Anointed Processions, so using some of the other enchantment hate is not as effective, so I keep this card in my sideboard. We have 2 Negates, 2 Doomfalls, 2 Duress as a little bit more interaction, kind of diversifying the way that we interact with our opponent, whether it's on the stack or through discard, or even just exiling things like Bristling Hydra once we get rid of other things. We have 2 Yahenni's Expertise. Being able to wipe the board and progress our game plan is pretty powerful. We can also get our guys above an X3 so often when you consider how many Rishkars we're playing. So that's it for this deck, the sideboard, what I'm playing right now. This is a deck that I'll continue to test for GP Portland. Please have a comment. Let me know if you have any thoughts, any questions. I'm excited to continue trying this out and seeing if I can get into a place that I like going into the Grand Prix. And especially after the Pro Tour, where I get to see what other people are doing, trying, and what I might be able to expect going into Portland. So thank you everybody for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to check out Flipside Gaming to let them know that I sent you by using the code CCMTG, all capitalized. Thank you so much. Hit that sub button and check out patreon.com/ccmtg to support all of this content. It really means the world to me. So thanks, guys.